Hello, Dynamics community. Mariana here.
And Makota.
Hi. We are going to start doing the podcasts for the different themes for Kid Dynamics. So if you haven't been to the website, kiddynamics.com, Kid Dynamics, look for the two big hands, then you'll know you're in the right place. So I think we're going to do our podcast starting today as a discussion. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's a good way to start it.
Yeah. So we just like these sort of impromptu and the ability to just have a discussion. It's a co-creative world that we're in, so I don't want to interview anyone right away. I rather just have a discussion about our thoughts around self. Self is the first theme that we're going to focus on now when it comes to the Kid Dynamics program, and we think that it's an important one because it's 2023, the beginning of a new year. So to focus on what your self, how you're going to take care of yourself this year, I think is really important. What do you think?
Well, yeah, I think, at the start of the year, that's when everyone's making their New Year's resolutions, trying to better themselves in some way and kind of learn from what they might have done differently last year. So it's a perfect thing to start off with.
Yes, self. So have you decided anything for yourself when it comes to like this year, like, your self-care, your self-love, your self-respect, your self whatever? Like, have you thought of anything specifically around self and what? Yeah, I don't necessarily always want to call it a resolution because I think resolutions sometimes can be, you might not follow through with it or something might happen or a life event. But what about just choosing something around self for this year?
Yeah, it's actually something that is a little different, I suppose. I guess you could say it's a form of self-care. I wanted to kind of indulge a bit more this year, not in the way that of, eating a lot more sweets or, doing bad things, but kind of just, I've had a lot of times where I wanted to do something and then I've just been like, oh, maybe I won't, maybe I'll save it for later. Like my the kids from my teaching practice got me these really good cookies and I was just like, oh, I'll save them for a special occasion or I'll just keep them forever. And then I was like, no, I'm just gonna eat one. And then I was like, it was a great time, it tasted amazing, and I was really glad that I did it, but I don't think I would have done that last year. I would have just kept it for the whole year and then it would have gotten rotten by the time I wanted to eat it.
Okay, so explain that just a little bit more. So just having some
self-indulgence, I guess, or even self like awareness, maybe, to know that it's not gonna it's better to eat it when it's fresh and ripe and when it's tasting the best than to wait forever for it.
It's almost like a self now, like honoring yourself in the moment and whatever that moment looks like, for, like you said, just enjoying the moment.
Yes, and not waiting for it to be the perfect moment and just knowing that every moment can be perfect.
Yeah, because what is a perfect moment? Like, who knows? Who knows what that is? And if you guys know, you let us know. So we'll ask our audience, what have you thought of as a way to address yourself, a way to empower yourself, a way to make your life, a dynamic self this year. It doesn't matter age, because we have some awesome kids, as young as 2 and 3 that have taken part in the themes, and up until actually grandmother age have taken part in the themes. So it doesn't really matter, even though it's focused for kids. It can be for any age, really, because sometimes when we get to be older, sometimes we're undoing some of the patterns that we have either taken on or been taught or something when we were young. So if we can teach the young ones to, be more self-empowered and more self-aware and more conscious of the choices they're making along the way, and letting them know, especially that there are choices. That makes a huge difference, I think. So really focusing on themselves,
Yes.
both selfishly and unselfishly, if that makes sense. Because I think it's like the self, it starts from within.
Yes, it does.
Yeah. So, it's always like give, to others and serve others and stuff. But how can you do that if you're not nourished yourself and you're not feeling empowered yourself, and if you're not in maybe feeling like you're filled up? Yes. How can you give it to others? So it starts with the self always.
Yes, I agree with that a lot. I've had a lot of instances that too. It's just, you give all of your attention to someone or something, but then at the end of the day, maybe that doesn't work out, or they get busy, and then it's just like, oh, well, you're left with yourself, and you're left with...
So, Makota, what would you like to leave everybody with when it comes to self? What do you think? What do you think is the biggest message that you can leave for those in our community about our theme self?
Well, I think it would be to look back on maybe the last year. Look back on 2022 and see, well, was it a good year for yourself? Was it a good year for your self-expansion, for your self-growth, for your self-care, for your self-love, all those selves? And then, well, now it's a new year. Do you think you can improve on that? Do you think that you can be better in some areas, or maybe be less in some areas? Maybe you're a little too self-indulgent, or maybe you cared a bit too much about yourself. And then how do you balance it all? And then start again this year and make it better.
Yeah. And I like that. Thanks for that. I mean, I like that balance part too, because even though self-balance is not really a word that's used, I think balance in anything is awesome.
Yes.
Community, how do you feel that you want to take care of yourself this year? I think maybe a couple suggestions. Research self a little bit. Look in the dictionary, see what it says. I mean, the internet has so much information, because you just like, you go on there and one says one thing about this and one but just look at the positive sides of self, and then who do you want to be? Because I remember having that "who do you want to be" poster on your wall.
Yes.
And who does yourself want to be, in any situation, in any moment. So self is such a big thing, and we're going to have another either video podcast and or just a audio podcast talking more about self, continuing on this conversation, this discussion, because there is quite a bit to self in general. So for me, I think I will just look at who do I want to be, being more of my authentic self.
I like that.
Yes. And who really is that authentic self, given the whole patterns of needing approval and this and that growing up, and changing and transforming them. So, just really looking at who do I want to be as my authentic self? Because, when you look at the dictionary, and it says self is like, it distinguishes you, for different than anyone else, it's who you are and distinguishes you, even though we're connected as a whole, but it distinguishes you as a unique, authentic self.
Yes.
And that's a gift. You're the gift. You being who you are is a gift, even if that doesn't always fit into the norm or fit into what someone's supposed to be. I know there's rules and laws that you have to follow sometimes, but, have your gifts, be your authentic self, because that is a gift, and you don't know who you could be helping. Right?
Yeah.
Along the way, by being your full self.
Yeah.
So, and, I think that is where it stops for me as far as today. How about you?
I think that's the same for me.
Yeah. I allow myself to be my authentic self.
Yes. And I look back and make sure myself is always the right self.
Right. And after looking back, again, we talked a bit before, not spending too much time looking back, but enough that the power, again, is still in this now moment. And that's where all the power goes. Even if you're thinking of memories or whatever,
Right.
you still get to transform those now in the moment.
Yes.
Yeah, so self, S-E-L-F. Spend some time with yourself. You probably really, really like it. You're probably really cool. And we look forward to your support and your feedback. And again, we're just starting this. So if there's something more that you want in the month around the themes that we're going to do, then please do, because we have things planned. Like we said in the initial post that we had, video introducing this whole calendar and this whole what we're going to do, and it's like online classes and more social media stuff and YouTube and just really focusing on these themes, like I said, as a teacher, needing them in the classroom, and just for me transforming a lot of my kid time when I grew up into my adult time, and what example do I want to be for my kid? Okay, so until we see each other again, make it a dynamic day.
Make it a dynamic day.
And thanks for joining us. See you next time.
See ya.